Hello and welcome to Ghoulish. I am Max Booth, a host, and this is a podcast celebrating all things spooky. It's an interview show. I have a guest on, someone involved in the whole scene, and together we pick one topic that's somehow related to the genre, and we dish about it. This is a dish podcast. We only talk about dishes, plates, cups, glasses, knives, spoons, forks, spilks sometimes if I'm in the mood. But on today's episode, I have a really special guest, more special than any other guest I've ever had. All those other guests, they can get fucked. No, I apologize to all my other guests. I'm just feeling rowdy today. I don't know why. Today on the program, which is called Ghoulish, hosted by Max Booth, who is myself, a host, I have a guest by the name of Matthew M. Bartlett, and he has written a ton of really creepy books. He is perhaps most famous for the collection/novel, ? It's kind of both in a way, which is kind of cool. It's called Gateways to Abomination. That came out quite a few years ago. But good news, something he is promoting on this podcast is he is re-releasing Gateways to Abomination along with a shit ton of other material, some of it collaborated with John Paget. And the book is called Secret Gateways. So this is a collection written by both Matthew M. Bartlett and John Paget. It's coming out through Nightscape Press. I will have a link in the show notes. It's only a limited amount of copies available. It's a big box set. Any fan of the genre would be wise to scoop up a copy before Nightscape sells out. So yeah, if you're interested in this conversation I have with Matthew and you want to read some of his work, just bite the bullet and go get Secret Gateways. But if that's a bit out of your price range, it's $150 for this huge box set. If that's too much, which I understand, I would recommend just going and picking up a copy of Gateways to Abomination by itself, because that collection/novel is really good. It's like a mosaic novel, I guess you would say. You know, a bunch of days in the life of this creepy town and the ominous radio station surrounding it. You should pick it up. It's good. Matthew is a good writer. I've published him in numerous anthologies such as Lost Signals and Tales from the Crust, an anthology of Pizza Hole. And I dig his stuff a lot. I dig what he does. I enjoyed talking to him on this podcast. On this episode, the topic we are discussing is quite hilarious, and that is pessimism, which is a word that I am convinced I am not saying right as it leaves my mouth, but what I think is okay. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Either way, my dog's all about to go crazy because I think someone's gonna knock on my front door. So it's time I sign out and we go straight to the episode. So all right, here's Matthew M. Bartlett talking about pessimism. Let's do it up, folks. Okay. Matthew, would you like to talk about pessimism with me?
I would love to.
Okay, well, I think we should begin with a question that I had a few minutes ago, and I did not know how to answer it. What is the difference between pessimism and cynicism?
That's a good question, and I don't know if I'm smart enough to provide a good answer for it. Cynicism. That's a really good question. It's so good that I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
You
I,
suggested this
I,
topic.
I guess I did, but cynicism, I think, is not necessarily being miserable about the fact that everything's going to go in a shitty direction. It's more like being wry about it, or being like um, thinking that people will usually choose the most self-serving path, or thinking that you know it doesn't necessarily mean thinking everything's going to go wrong. It's just sort of thinking that um, people aren't genuine, or something like that. How does that sound? Does that sound reasonable?
It sounds like it sounds
It
okay.
sounds like a bunch of bullshit.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
Now I'm googling it because I have no idea.
Yeah, it's a good idea. It's a good idea to Google it.
Yeah, I often Google on my podcasts. It just says it's anonymous. God damn it.
So there I've been bullshitting over. I should have just said, no, they're the exact same thing.
I always thought they might have been slightly different, but I didn't know.
Me too. I thought there's got to be some kind of distinction, but if Google says no, then they are the exact same thing.
I hope we get 1,000 tweets correcting us.
Yeah, yeah. Let me ask you: do you consider yourself an optimist? I don't think you do, because I saw a tweet that you did about a interview answer where you said that you were just hoping to die.
I mean, that's kind of optimistic.
It is, yeah, because like me, I think I'm like sort of big picture pessimistic, but I don't want to die at all, you know. But you're like yay, that I'm like that we all come to a bad end and everything disappears, and you're like, then that's good.
Yeah, I don't know what I am. I guess I would say optimistic because, like you said, I'm okay with dying. I don't want to die anytime soon, but I'm okay with the fact that one day I'm gonna die and I'm gonna go to ash, and every thought I've ever had will become nothing. That sounds pleasant to me in an odd way, but I don't think I'm completely cynical because I'm pretty trusting, like with on a day to day basis. Like if I encounter somebody I don't know, my instinct is to trust them, even if I might be getting scammed. I don't know.
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
like to immediately distrust somebody.
So you're not cynical.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I'm that way too. Like I thinking about it, have described myself as like a big picture pessimist. Like everything's going to go to shit eventually, but a day to day optimist. I worry about things going bad. I worry about losing my job and homelessness and stuff like that. But I don't like think it's going to happen necessarily.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat exactly. I'm constantly having an anxiety attack about the worst thing that could possibly happen at any given moment. But I don't think it's gonna happen. I just think, well, it could happen.
Right, and I'd best be prepared by being miserable while thinking about it.
I guess like driving's a good example because anytime I'm driving, I'm waiting for like a fucking semi to hit me from the side at any moment, and I'm a wreck about it.
Uh-huh. See, with me, I think like if I'm going to drive tomorrow a long distance, that's probably going to happen. But then like when I'm actually in the car and actually driving, I'm like, I'll be nothing like that's going to happen. It's anticipating. It's the same thing if I book a flight. I think like the flight's going down. But then when I'm on the airplane, I'm like, look at everybody acting normal and not scared. I'm like, everything's going to be fine.
I always think that a plane might go down, but I always get so bummed out because in my head I convince myself I won't die. I'll be one of the few who do not die. But then I think, well, I don't know how to swim, so I'll end up drowning anyway.
Right, but well, I mean, you could be on the seat cushion slapping at the sharks until someone comes and rescues you.
I've thought about this too, but I don't know how to do a lot of things. I end up doing those things wrong when I try, so I'm confident I would fuck up the seat cushion thing somehow,
Uh-huh.
and it
Yeah.
would just like shoot out from underneath me like a like a tube. Then I'd be screwed. So
Yeah.
why did you want to come on this podcast and talk about pessimism?
Well, you had, I think, done a Facebook post saying, if you were going to come on my podcast, what would you want to talk about? And I just threw pessimism out there, just to say something into the void, just to comment. And then when you contacted me about it, I thought, well, all right, I guess I could talk about that. I think pretty frequently about how like I don't like to encounter in a horror or a weird fiction story optimism or hope or any kind of a happy ending. It annoys me, and I mean, obviously, I'm to some degree a fan of Thomas Ligotti, who's famously pessimistic. So I figured that would be a good thing to talk about. I might as easily have said devils and demons.
Yeah, but this is more interesting. Why do you think it annoys you?
Um, because it seems overly false to me, whereas like all this kind of supernatural stuff apparently doesn't seem false to me. But it seems like I don't know. I mean, horror to me is supposed to delve into darkness, and it's almost like a betrayal of the genre in a way. Like I don't mind. Like I like if horror is sort of mixed in with awe or a kind of a transcendent experience. But I don't like. I mean, if you and I had talked briefly about the movie A Dark Song,
Yes.
which it's a dark, dark movie, and then at the end, suddenly, like there's redemption and hope, and for some reason, like a massive guardian angel who looks like I don't quite remember, but almost like a knight in shining armor, but like 20 feet tall or something. And I was sitting there, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, okay. I wanted to rewatch this last night, but I didn't have time. I saw this movie once, and I was beginning to fall asleep till the end, but I woke up immediately as soon as that giant angel baby. But he was like in a lake, right?
I don't even remember. I just remember I was like such a fury at how silly it suddenly got. And I know a
Yeah.
lot of people disagree with me on this, and I respect them, but I was just like, oh, come on. There's like a handsome guardian angel. He might have been in a lake, but like in a room, in a lake, in a room. I don't remember. I just remember being like, we went through all of this, and now we're supposed to be like, oh, that's nice. She got over the not to spoil alert, I guess, but she got over apparently the she forgives the murderers of her son. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I
Maybe
just
that was his son, all grown up.
maybe really really grown up. Yeah, I don't know.
Someone.
I
I'm the same way, but I also have no way to explain myself because I've often said, well, that ending was way too happy, and I get scolded. Like, what did you want to happen? All of them to die? I'm like, yeah, because that seems more honest to me, but I guess I'm a cynic.
right.
Everybody's a cynic.
But like in other things, like in regular dramas or whatever, I don't suppose I particularly mind a happy ending. I'm happy to be manipulated along with anyone else, in a decent romantic comedy or whatever, because I kind of expect it. Although I think like a down ending would be kind of a delight and something like that because it would be so unexpected. But
Absolutely.
another movie I was thinking of was The Mist, the Stephen King adaptation,
Hmm.
which ends like the story itself ends on like a note of hope. Like one of the last words in the story is, or maybe even the last word in the story is hope. And I didn't necessarily mind that because it's not like it went on to show them like arrive in Hartford and first of all everything's closed so there's nothing to do, but there's no mist there or anything, and they're suddenly everything's fine. But the movie, it went like super 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 dark, like I don't think like a Stephen King father, and again spoiler alert, would ever just kill his son. You know what I mean? Uh, in when things haven't necessarily played out the way they don't know what's going to happen yet. So anyway, in the movie, he kills his son, and then suddenly they're all rescued, like immediately. And I like the nerve of that. In that, I like the idea that like people who aren't necessarily big readers would go to a Stephen King movie anyway, and they don't expect like to get socked in the solar plexus like that.
Yeah.
But I didn't at the time. I was like, oh come on, because that seemed dishonest to me because it seemed like we're just fucking with you now, you know.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I agree or not. I've fulfilled so many different opinions about the ending of the Mist movie, and when it happens, I'm pretty caught up in the moment. So I guess I'm a fan of it.
Right.
So I don't know like what the difference is between like how does somebody own an ending like that, and how like what would they have done differently for the ending to have willed for you?
That's a good question. I don't know that. I mean, I like the way the whole story plays out, so I don't know that I would have liked them to sort of change things within the structure of the story to earn a down ending. I mean, maybe they did earn it. You know, I think my reaction at the time, which was definitely a knee jerk reaction, was like, oh, they could have just kept the ending of the ambiguous ending or the trailing off ending of the novella without much difficulty, but instead they're like, hey, fuck you, we're gonna kill his kid, and then he's gonna be devastated.
Yeah.
I think I've softened to it over time because I think my natural inclination is always toward a down ending for a story like that. um
Yeah, in a
yeah.
way, it's almost kind of like biblical, right? Because the whole time that church lady is like, "We have to kill the kid, and then we'll be saved." And that's
Right.
exactly what happens. I just thought that was pretty ironic and cool.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, I hadn't thought about it that way. That's funny.
I also think, I mean, if we want to get really pessimistic, well, cynical, whichever one you prefer. I mean, he could have shot that kid in the face. That doesn't mean he would have died. He could have been stuck with a moaning, half dead child.
That's true too. And then permanently destroyed and brain damage, and then he has to take care of him, and then the mist comes back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that would have been pretty good.
yeah, maybe the sequel. we can work on writing that.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
down. I already have some fan fiction that I can throw in. It's kind of erotic, but yeah.
Sure, why not?
I mean, when you have tentacles, you have orgasms. Am I right, Matthew? Am I right? Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
So before we got on this podcast, you were trying to speculate the possibility of an ending that is not ambiguous, that's not optimistic, that's not pessimistic.
Yeah, I told my wife that the topic of today's podcast, and she said, "Oh, that sounds like a good time." Uh, and, and then she said she was trying to think of a movie that ended not ambiguously, but not pessimistically nor optimistically, and I don't know. I that's what she left me with the minute the call connected. So
Yeah, you answered the call with the word ambiguous.
I did. But we never came to a conclusion. And if ever I try to sort of think of something like that in during a podcast, I'll never be able to think of it. I'll be able to think of it maybe afterwards.
Oh
But
God, let's just name some
definitely
movies.
not. Okay.
Matilda,
Uh,
optimistic.
what is it?
Matilda, that's optimistic.
I
Uh,
didn't see it.
oh, yikes! It's a Ligotti. It's a Ligotti adaptation. Shawshank is optimistic. Yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Uh,
Um,
God damn it.
but I didn't mind that either. Although I think the book was less cheesy than the movie, but that might have been just because of the music and
It was
the
definitely the
actors.
music and probably just the way Morgan Freeman sounds.
Yes.
You can't have Morgan Freeman like act cynical in a narration. It's not going to happen. Like imagine
No.
him narrating a Ligotti story or a Lovecraft story. It'd be pretty cool.
It would be pretty cool, actually. I'd love to hear him do the conspiracy against the human race.
That's how you recruit some folks into a cult, I think.
I think so.
You had me read The Rats in the Walls before I did this podcast, and holy shit, man, that was the opposite of optimistic.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I just just in the end, he's eaten his friend and lost his cat, and he's in the madhouse, having discovered, the terrible truth about his ancestry. And I just think that for me is one of my absolute favorite Lovecraft stories, notwithstanding the unfortunate name of the cat. Um,
You brought up my next question.
yeah, what was the exact question going to be?
Well, I don't have it written down, but it would have been, hey, what's up with that cat?
Right. And when I came to Lovecraft fairly late in life, like in my maybe my early 30s, and I was kind of a dopey guy, and I guess I still am. But at the time, I'm like, wow, he made that character really racist, or I thought like maybe just everyone had racial epithets as the name of their pets, in those days, And I didn't give it a second thought until obviously like later on down the line when I knew more people who knew what was up,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, okay, still a strange choice,
I googled that story after I read it, and one of the notes they had a note about the cat, and it tried to excuse the fact because that was H.P. Lovecraft's real cat's name.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't think that. I think that makes it worse.
It absolutely makes it worse. It makes it so much worse. But
No, he's not racist. That's what he called his real cat in real life.
to be fair, everyone's cats had that kind of name in those days.
That's what he called cats.
Yeah, yeah. Any cat that wasn't like a tabby cat, that was the automatic go-to. It was like Fido for dogs.
This is
Yeah,
taking a cynical route, Matthew.
it definitely has taken an odd turn and away from pessimism, but yeah, it's definitely a down sort of a story. As opposed, now you haven't read much in the way of Lovecraft, is that right?
That was the only one I've ever read.
Right.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
if you read, say, The Shadow over Innsmouth, there's kind of a, a similar ending, except the twist is that the narrator has come to accept and join his strange lineage, and so he goes off to be with the creepy human fish hybrid people, and that's kind of a weird positive note for Lovecraft. But I and I do like that story, but I like the overall worldview that the universe is at best indifferent and at worst malevolent. That just seems to fit in with my own worldview pretty handily. But if you go back to Ligotti with the sort of sense that life was a mistake and there's no good that can come from anything, and this kind of I every writer will say, I don't subscribe to that, but I like it. And I guess
I subscribe.
yeah, I guess in that way I'm no different. Like I do think life was a mistake. I would not rather have not lived. Of course, who knows what that would be like, never having existed. You can't really say you prefer it if you haven't experienced it, and you can't experience it because that's impossible. You can't experience non-existence.
Yeah, that's a bundle, man. If only we could. Just feel like a day.
Right. I guess if you sleep really, really deeply, you are for that time. Essentially, well, I can't say you don't exist, but you're certainly not aware of your own existence when you're fast asleep or unconscious during surgery.
That's what you think, but maybe you just forget.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. That's an alarming prospect that I had hernia surgery in 2017, and I hate to think that I was awake for it and I just don't remember.
I've always been suspicious that when we go to sleep, the moment we feel we fell asleep, because no one remembers that those last few seconds, right?
Right.
I've always been suspicious that a great pain overwhelms us and like sends us into a state of sleep.
Every night.
But yeah, every night, man, like something just like goes through our bodies, and it's quite shocking.
And we have to escape it by falling into unconsciousness.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's probably what happens.
It
I would
probably
have
is.
to Google it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see the movie The Witch?
Yes.
What did you think about that ending? Because thinking about it now, it's kind of an optimistic ending from the main character's point of view, but nobody else's.
Yeah, that's true. I really did love the ending to that. Because one I think naturally identifies with the main character rather than the father, or the creepy twin, the creepy brother and sister. I did partially identify with the goat. I guess it was a happy ending for him too. But yeah, I mean, I saw that as a very positive ending in a really good way because I enjoyed the idea of the diabolical or whatever, and this young woman escaping her real downer of a family and going for the positive live life, whatever the quote is.
Deliciously.
Yeah. So yeah, I like that it was negative for the rest of her family and positive for her.
Maybe that's like the best combo you can hope for.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, the best combination of pessimism and optimism. Like for her, it's great, and I'm sure there are people who watched that movie and they were like, "Oh no, she's just gone off with the bad people, naked in the woods, rising into the sky, and she'll be damned when she dies." That kind of thing.
A lot of bad dads probably watched that movie and thought, "Oh no,"
Yeah,
for the same reason.
yeah.
A lot of goats saw that movie and went, "Oh yeah." I heard that filming a movie with a goat is impossible. The guy who made that movie said it was a total nightmare because goats cannot be trained to do anything.
I heard that too, and the best thing that I heard was that they had to use CGI because the goat's tail kept wagging.
Like it was too happy.
Yeah. It was having a great old time, and goats are famously not the best actors either, so they had to CGI in a sad or inactive tail.
So that means what? They had to wrap the goat's tail with like a green fabric.
I think so.
Oh man, what a pessimistic podcast this has become.
I know.
Well, we're almost out of time. Any other final thoughts about this topic?
Yeah, I guess I would want to say that in writing and as a reader, I think hope is to be avoided at all costs. And I tried to think about this, and I'm not the best judge of my own stuff, writing wise. I don't think I've ever ended anything. I think everything just kind of either ends on a down note or just trails off. But I don't think I've ever done like I was trying to determine whether I'm a hypocrite, whether I wrote something with a positive ending. I don't think I have, but I'd have to go back through and see, and then I'll just punish myself, if I did.
Okay. Yeah, I can't think of anything because I was also trying to think of something you might have written that would make you a hypocrite, so I can like do a bit of gotcha journalism.
Absolutely, yeah.
But nothing came to mind. I mean, the story you have in Tales from the Crest that gets pretty messed up at the end.
Yeah. And there's no bad pizza, people say. Like even bad pizza is good pizza, but I think I actually was able to write a bad pizza.
Yeah, that ending was really similar to The Witch, if you think about it.
It kind of was.
It was. What else do you have to promote? Don't you have a thing going on with John Paget right now?
Yes, there is a 3 hardcover box set coming out. Probably, it's not determined exactly when yet, but I think early next year. Which is my book, Gateways to Abomination, with some additional material. John's book, Secret of Ventriloquism, also with some never before read material. A book of 4 short stories that John Paget and I collaborated on. And there's introductions by the likes of actually Thomas Ligotti himself, John Langan, S.P. Miskowski, art by Aaron Alfrey and Harry O. Morris, and God, I'm going to completely blank now. Give me a second to look this up because I don't want to leave it. Oh, Sam Heimer did the art for the slipcase. So that's available on Nightscape Press's website. And also I do want to say that there is a new audiobook of Gateways to Abomination out on Audible with John Paget doing the narration, which is he does a perfect job.
Yeah, he's see he knows how to narrate something like this, unlike Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
All right, well, this was fun. Oh, how can folks reach you online?
They can find me on Facebook at Matthew M. Bartlett, on Twitter at Matt M. Bartlett, and the website is www.matthewmbartlett.com, and there's another site at www.wxxt.com. A lot of W's, too many.
Okay, that was Matthew M. Bartlett talking about pessimism. If you liked today's episode, hey, why not go throw us a bone or two on patreon.com/PMM Publishing. And you know, if you really enjoyed the show, why don't you go leave us a review on iTunes and any other place you might leave reviews of podcasts. Maybe write it down in a tiny slip of paper and bury it in a graveyard at midnight. Ooh. What else is going on? I don't know. Buy some books. Live spooky. Maybe even die spooky. Who's to say? Who's to say? Oh, God damn it.